Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, e buonasera, Lazio world. Welcome to our instant reaction pod. Consider this a little stoppage time, which was cut a little bit short by the referee today. Just throwing that out there. I'm your host, Sean McIntosh, joined by my co host, Caleb Adams, and our good friend, special guest today, Adrian Trito. Adrian, who has been a part of the Lazio World staff, I guess we could say, working behind the scenes on a lot of our content and stuff. So thrilled to have Adrian on today to chat Lazio Napoli, a Serie A thriller, a showcase today for both good, bad, and the chaos that is Italian football. So, Adrian, welcome to the show. I'll start with you. How you feeling after that one?
A little bit shook up, I'm not going to lie. That was a really good game, but, it could have been a lot more. Obviously, some things had gone differently, but overall, I thought, the heart the team showed is just, incredible to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Caleb, immediate feelings?
Oh, man, it's very mixed emotions. Thank goodness we got a point out of this, right? At the same time, it's like, oh, man, but it easily could have been 3.
Yep. Well, let's jump right into this because I've already felt every range of emotion in the last 20 minutes, and my feelings keep changing and morphing into both excited for how it ended to a little bit of disappointment and regret. So we'll jump right in. Starting 11, it is your usual suspects: Provedel in goal, Tavares, Romagnoli, Gila, Marusic, manning that back line, your typical pivot in Rovella, Guendouzi, and then the attack: Zaccagni, Isaacson, Tati up top, and then right behind him, you have the change, Dia, who had been suffering a little bit from a knock. You see Pedro inserted into the starting 11, and this match got off with some fireworks pretty quickly. I mean, it's 4 minutes in, and Isaacson does a really nice job being a defender, getting a final ball over to Guendouzi, who kind of misses. Tavares is showing his brilliance early on, just beating people and putting them on their toes. Tati decides to take a nice crack at it, which showed me that he was up for this match in the 11-minute mark, and then continues to really go Lazio's way for those first few minutes, and Isaacson, 6 minutes in, ball falls to him. He takes a little bit of space, takes a crack from distance, and it is a banger. 1-0 Lazio. Puts everybody on their feet, and in typical Lazio fashion, we don't give ourselves too much time to celebrate because it is but 5 minutes later that Provedel hands a gift, all but wraps it for Napoli. Signed, sealed, delivered. Just a poor distribution. You kind of put your head down and you're like, all right. And then to really put the icing on the cake, allows a shot right in between his legs to make it 1-1 Napoli. And then, again, I thought Lazio, nice response. They've got chances. And you see it in the second half. The comedy of errors, something that seems like it would only happen with Lazio. Gila, who I thought was fouled on that play, finds himself on the ground. Ball bounces off of Gila and then kicked in by Marusic. Bit unlucky there, but it is now Napoli 2-1, and you start to think to yourselves, this wasn't going to be our night. I, at the moment, looked at expected goals, and at that moment, it was 0.2 for Napoli. And so they had 2 goals off 0.2 expected goals. I was seething, and then it is just it's a really nice ball played in. Naslin tries to get a foot on it. Fortunate that he misses because the ball lands at the feet of Zaccagni, who may not get enough credit. We'll talk about this more, but just does a spectacular job of being patient, making the right pass, and finds the killer in the box that is Dia, who slots it about as perfect as you can slot it. And it had to be to put Lazio up 2-2 before a late chance from Noslin sees it saved by Meret, and it finishes 2-2. And there's a lot of feelings behind this one, but Caleb, give me your 3 words or less to describe this match.
I was going to go more negative route on my 3 words, but I've decided to actually take the more positive sort of perspective in this match and so my 2 words in this case are just overcoming adversity. I think that a lot of things went wrong that particularly the outfield players either didn't have control of, or they were a victim of. Some of these guys who put in really good performances. It would have been really easily to score that goal, go down a goal because your goalkeeper screws up. That's so disheartening as an outfield player. You're doing your job, and they just get a gift like that. And then once again, shortly after, Tati goes down. The guy leading the line. I know Tati. Tati comes across as someone that has a bit of respect in the locker room and is sort of taking this leadership type position. So that's also hard to see. You're already down Dia at the start of the game, so Tati goes down, and then you miss a sitter from Isaacson. You're looking at that. Oh my goodness, that was it, right? And then you go down by own goal. A really unfortunate sequence of events. Marusic, the one to blame, of course, but at the same time, he was just whacking out to try and clear the ball. And it came to him suddenly after bouncing off the back of a player on the ground. Lazio, just a complete FIFA goal. That's what it was. They said FIFA isn't realistic, but Lazio disproved that.
And then the bicycle.
To then scoring a bicycle kick centimeters offside to still go back and manage to salvage a point out of this against everything. It seemed that everything was against us today. Despite all that, they kept pushing and they got an equalizer. So, I mean, that's huge. I mean, I think that's really encouraging. I'm really proud of the guys for that. And yeah, it could have been a win, but imagine if we came out of that with nothing, right? So I'm really grateful with the guys didn't just give up. It could have very easily just been like, whatever, screw this. Like, it's just not our day. But they didn't.
I'll go the other route before I let Adrian give us his. So I appreciate that you went with the positive spin, because you're right. At the end of the day, it is the 80th some odd minute, and we are losing a match. And you said it right. Everything that could have went against us did, and in insane fashion. It wasn't like we always seem to take it to another level of just like Lazialita, like this level of like, not only is it an own goal, we've seen own goals. It's happened this year against Juve. Like it's right, but it's like the just the comedy behind this own goal, and only to then see a magnificent goal, probably the best goal of his career, outside of that stunner in Euros. But like, this was what a magnificent goal, individual brilliance to be ruled, centimeters offside. Just didn't feel like it was our night. So every reason to dig their heads in the dirt and maybe walk away with this one with nothing. They did pull themselves out from that. So kudos. But my 3 words: dominant performance squandered. So, you take all of that positivity, and that's where it is this roller coaster of emotions. Because anytime you score late, like, I'm riding high, I'm going nuts. My kids, my dogs are all like jumping up and down with me. But then when you take a step back, and I said it with 0.2 expected goals at that time, let me run through these stats because it'll just depress you. And we talk about time and time again. My goodness, if the Serie A table was decided by XG, Lazio this year, we'd have to be top 2 in the league, which is just so frustrating. And it is the cruelty of this sport. And it at least tells you that we are doing a lot of things right. But 53% possession to 47%, relatively equal. Expected goals 0.63. So it's not like we did a ton of great things, but 0.63 to 0.35. 12 total shots to Lazio, 5 to Napoli. 5 shots on target, Napoli with 2. Both of those were the ones that we gifted them. They had nothing on frame, no real threat besides the 2 that we handed them, laughably so, both of those. No big chances really from Napoli, and Lazio just was the better team. You look at this, and it is a Baroni masterclass against Conte. That is 3 times in the same season that Baroni has managed to pull one over on Conte, the beloved Conte, the mastermind, right? He's going back to the 3-5-2, blah, 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 blah. Well, Baroni has Conte's number, and it hasn't even been close. Right, the 2 dominant performances over them this year that we've won, and this one, as far as I'm concerned, that's a Baroni over Conte, easy. The players obviously both did their part in a lot of ways, but obviously failed Baroni in some of those individual errors. Adrian, give me your 3 words for this one.
Sure. So mine are a missed opportunity. The reason I say that is because, again, there's a chance we could put Napoli or get close to them at least and get ahead of Fiorentina, Juventus, and feel that bigger buffer. But one thing I do want to credit there with this team is that usually we had at the end of games, things aren't going away. We kind of fight with the referees a lot. Today we didn't do that. We just put down the ball and played right away, and let us get the momentum going. We got the goal at the end of the game. I think that showed a lot with maturity and with mentality, because at the end of the day, we start playing these more, I'd say, high-stake games at the end of the season. That's going to be critical for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Caleb, tell me a little bit about what you saw, because, I said it. I thought it was a masterclass from Baroni. The way we played, we really got to play our game. But from start to finish, Napoli was not able to do the things that for most of the season against most sides they've been able to do. What'd you see from us that stunted their ability to really get into this game?
Yeah, so I think that we kind of came into this thinking, okay, maybe we need to be a little more conservative because we have conceded early. I think for me, it was really more so being able to handle those early minutes and actually get the team in rhythm, because we know, like, we've seen it. We'll go down early in the game, and then all of a sudden we'll just start dominating the other team. They can't do anything. In this match, it was something that we were locked in mentally. Our team was set up to succeed. I think that we'll go into this a little bit later. I think that pretty much every single player came to play today. No assignment was missed. There was no sort of loose balls or anything that, basically killed that momentum that we had up until the Provedel goal. But even then, what was working before then, we were able to, that energy, that aggression, we still saw that once again, even after conceding a goal, and we managed to stick to it. And I think it just came down to individual discipline across the board. The assignments were done well. I think that we also did a really good job of avoiding their midfield, right? Coming into this, right? Napoli considered to have one of the better midfields in the league. We decided to say, okay, you guys are going to sit back in 3-back. We're going to then attack you. We're going to kill you down the wing. So we utilize our wingers really well with our fullbacks, created overloads out wide, now allowing the midfield to get into rhythm. McTominay and Zombo, apart from some defensive plays and a couple touches here, like they barely touched the ball, really, that I can think of. So we kept the midfield from sort of overcoming us and really dominated the wing play.
Yeah, you mentioned individual assignments. I think, everybody was really sharp in just how organized they were. I think about how often Gila was pressing high, but you look back and Rovella had him covered beautifully. So oftentimes this year, maybe when we get caught, when our center backs are pressing a little bit too high, we get caught and an opponent is quick on a counter and catches us. Or maybe we're a little bit disorganized. So I thought it was a combination of just how sharp we were in staying in position, and Rovella kind of playing almost as another center back oftentimes, and then how slow Napoli was to really take advantage. And you have somebody like Lukaku, who just isn't the same player as he is. Like, he's great at his hold up. But for us, that probably helps, because we can slow down a little bit and he can hold it up. And that just allowed our center backs and Gila to come back and us to stay organized.
Let me add one thing real quick. We were just quicker to everything. I think like second balls. How many times did our wingers make an interception, make a play on it? Right. We were just quicker to everything. We won all the second balls, the 50-50s. The team was up for. I mean, they showed a lot of the quality today that they're capable of. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, huge kudos to also Baroni preparing them for this match. And I hope it's more so, hey, we have belief in what we can do, and not driven because it's Napoli, because we have gotten positive results against Napoli, and that plays a factor when you go into a game like this. We beat these guys before, we can do it again. You go up against Inter, Juve. Oh, we've hung there, right? But the results weren't particularly there. I hope that it's more so the former of, hey, we need to start competing in these top games more than, hey, let's use that momentum from the Napoli games and that confidence to go in this game, right? Because you want to be able to apply this in every match, not just against Napoli.
Yep. Tell me, Adrian, because I'll go back and we got the comment here on YouTube that's kind of brings it all back down to earth, because we think about all of these big matches, and yes, we've gotten over on Napoli 2 times before, but here we are, another big game, and no matter how you slice it and dice it, it's only a point that we had to claw out of to even earn. So, any concern on your end as we start to think about this season winding down in this absolute battle now for top 4, which, let me add really quickly, as it stands today, top 4 or bust for Champions League, because our Serie A brethren are not helping us out in European play, and destroying our coefficients. So right now, England, Spain ahead of Italy for a 5th Champions League spot. So how much does another result against a big club that's not a victory and full 3 points hurt?
Yeah, it doesn't help our case at all, because at the end of the day, those teams we're competing against, like Juventus, Fiorentina, I mean, these teams, we have to beat them. When we didn't beat Fiorentina this year, it becomes a little bit concerning, because obviously, we seem to make these uncharacteristic mistakes in these big matches that keep happening over and over and over again. And then you kind of wonder, like, what's going on. What I think now, though, what I really like today is that there was a complete game plan. And obviously, all the players just went out. They knew what they had to do. They got the job done. But, with probably not making a mistake, and we'll get into that later, I think. And also these kind of errors that keep happening, you just have to wonder, like, all right, guys, when are we going to clean it up a little bit, nip these things in the bud?
Give me, Adrian, we'll start with you. You're man of the match. We'll keep it on the positive train for this one, but give me your man of the match.
Okay, right now I have to go with Elixon, because, he was just dominant today in that right wing. I mean, we forget he almost got a penalty kick in the first 2 minutes of the game as well. He was really creative. He was putting pressure on the back line. He was getting Juan Jesus' head. At one point, they was trying to push him. So it just shows that, after these past 3 games, looks like he's taking a step forward. And that's something we need to see out of for all Lazio fans, because, people are concerned. Is he good? Is he not good? Now we've seen that step being taken forward. We can keep this going. I mean, he adds another weapon to this offense.
Caleb, yours?
Stockton's a great shot. I thought both our wingers were excellent today. We talked about how dangerous Akanji and Nuno were and have been all season long, and how lacking the right wing spot has been, not just Saxon, just in general. I mean, there's no one that's really grasped that role. And it's allowed teams to, that's part of why we were so successful today, is teams didn't have to defend us on just one side. Like, we were creating threats, and Saxon didn't have the fullback support on his side, but Saxon showed a level that I think that's the reason we bought him for, is, okay, we think he can make that next step and really be a guy who can gain attention, be his man. For me, I love that he was beating his guy today. Yes, he missed that one opportunity, scored a single goal to open it, but I love what I saw from him. Just sharp touches, beating the man, forcing more than 2 defenders to come get him, drawing a lot of attention. Really great. For me, my man of the match was on the other side, Zaccagni. Zaccagni, I thought, was excellent today. I think Zaccagni today was, if someone were to ask you, what kind of a player is Zaccagni? Like, what's his game? I will show him this game. I would say, watch this game. You'll get a full sense of what Zaccagni is all about. Defensively, just a unit, making interceptions, making plays, taking the initiative, taking players on, beating them, scoring a clutch goal. Right, I think Zaccagni is one of our more clinical players on the team, and he showed it today. Massive chance, scores a world-class goal, a few inches off, right? But Zaccagni showed exactly why he's the captain and why he's wearing number 10.
Yep. I have Zaccagni as well for all those reasons. I mean, put this in his documentary of just like you said, if you're going to pick a game to highlight who he is as a player, this was a captain's performance. I think about the 35th minute where he is tracking back, wins the ball, fights on, is being pulled and then dragged down to earn a yellow against Anguissa. Like I said this to Caleb earlier, how many wingers with his talent level fight as much as he does, tracks back, does a lot of the dirty work, but then still has just the fortitude, the skills to be able to put up what he does offensively. I think about Felipe Anderson and how consistent he was on both sides of the ball, but even Felipe would oftentimes frustrate us because he didn't have, just from an attacking standpoint, that switch that flipped, that all of a sudden he's like that terror. And he would show his glimpses every now and then, and that's why Felipe could be so frustrating. But when you need it from Zaccagni, it's like he's got that captain's armband. He knows when the team needs it. He puts his head down. He'll go on powering runs. He'll earn yellows, and he makes the right play 99% of the time. I mean, even the I think about that Isaacson miss, was just a nice little 1-2 hard, starts with some hard work from Zaccagni, then playing Nuno down the flank, who obviously plays in a brilliant ball to Isaacson. And by no means, like, Isaacson is the other player that deserves a shout today, because he was fantastic, and that's what you want to see. And he's starting to build his confidence. And if he can just take guys on more often, like what we saw early last year, he has a chance to be that missing piece on that right side. But Zaccagni, and then to cap it off with an assist that, again, seems like an easy assist. Like, we're watching, we got the full scope of the field, but he takes it under massive pressure, and he slows the game down. And again, he could have been a selfish player to say, I'm the captain, I'm the star boy, I'm in a position to have a crack at it. I just think what an underrated play to put Lazio in position to come out with something. For that reason, Zaccagni, my man of the match. And what a special player, because you really have to watch the games. It's a lot like Robella to get the full scope. You've got to watch the full 90 minutes to really understand why Zaccagni is so important.
I want to add really quickly too, just some special shout outs, because I think they deserved it. I think Pedro had a really good game too. Like, he was playing the second striker role, and the touches he would take to play people in space, right? He's more of a playmaker today, facilitator, and my goodness, I mean, that touch. I think we all know the exact touch that I'm talking about. Just if someone else.
39th minute. 39th minute. Yeah. For those that didn't watch the match, go to the 39th minute. Just, again, a little underrated moment in the match that Lazio is in danger, and it is chef's kiss, Pedro class.
I mean, moments like that, or where individual quality can literally make or break an entire sequence. Like that play, someone, if Nelson gets a touch there, he's probably not quick enough, agile enough to be able to sort of take that sort of touch and that control there, which if he didn't take that touch, we're in a bad situation. I think they may win that ball back, and now they're putting pressure back on us. Instead, now we have a free counterattack. We're outnumbering them. Pedro was fantastic today. Of course, the midfield duo always deserves a lot of respect. And also, I think Tavares was also an absolute menace today. I mean, just incredible work from him. And both our center backs showed up. Romagnoli, again, locking things down as Gila is doing his crazy stuff. A lot of great performances all around. Just a lot of great performances. ...
But a couple real boneheaded performances Caleb, your bidone, and this one's easy. Like I think it's relatively easy today. And great comment by. I hate being like, and I know we'll get into it, but I see it on Twitter. Like, I'm never gonna call for somebody to be off the team. Like, oh, this guy. Like, we've seen it last year, right? When people were down on Pedro, and now you see Pedro, or whether it's Marusic, and now it's like Provedel. But this is pretty funny from Patrick Bowman talking about somebody commented that all of our players have their flaws, and Patrick Bowman said Provedel's biggest flaw is that he is bad. And hard to disagree with that on a night like today. So I'm just making an assumption, Caleb, but you guys know.
What if I don't say Provedel? No, it is Provedel because again, it seems quite a bit this season we've been talking about Provedel. But whether we agree or not on whether it's his fault or whatever, Provedel has been in the conversation for a lot of these games and a lot of these shows. Today was just it was what made it worse was it compounded. Bad giveaway today, and on top of that, gets beat underneath his legs. Right? You can argue, oh, Raspadori did a great job. Raspadori is a player that doesn't have much fitness, like sharpness. He was kind of thrust into this role today. I think Provedel should do better. Regardless, that goal. I don't think Napoli should have scored a goal today if it wasn't for that moment, and of course the own goal. And again, my hate on Provedel does not come from single mistakes. That your goalkeeper, like, it happens, the team happens, it happens. My issue with Provedel is since his Goalkeeper of the Year award, he's been regressing. He didn't have as good of a season the following year. He was okay. This year, he looks like he's taking even a step lower, right? And to give you guys perspective, and I've said this stat before, I'm going to actually phrase it in a different way this time. So again, we talk about this goal prevented stat. It's the main stat. It's like the XG version of a goalkeeper stat. Provedel is ranked second to last in the league in prevented goals, negative 8.4. The one closest to him, above him, is Magnan, who's also a fraud on Milan, with negative 0.3. So Provedel, the fourth place team in Serie A, has the second worst showing from a goalkeeper this year. If you're competing for these spots, something's got to give, right? So again, it's been more so the whole season, but a match like this is where moments like this really, really matter. He's been able to get away with it against smaller teams. We'll get the win, we'll get the points, but you get an extra magnifying glass on it in moments like this, in matches like this. So with that said, it had to be Provedel. I do have one other option that I was contemplating, but I ended up going with Provedel.
Yeah, hard to defend him today because that goal was not just it wasn't just like, oh, unlucky, he got beat between his legs, his positioning was good. Like, that happens sometimes, right? We've seen keepers do the right thing and come out, and it's just like an unlucky bounce between their legs or, near post or whatever. But he's the one that put the team in that position in the first place. And one of the things you can generally count on Provedel for is like pretty decent distribution, at least in the eyes of Laziali, because we're used to some pretty god-awful distribution from the back. Even thinking of Strakosha, like how poor he was. So Provedel much, much better in that phase. And so he and what really sucks about that one is that there's an opportunity and you see what he was trying to do, and a better ball gives us an opportunity in attack. And so it's a poor ball. Obviously it's poor goalkeeping in that instance. So there's just no way to defend it from that one. And then, it just kind of, when your keeper is not able to be sound, it reverberates through the rest of the team, where there starts to be a little bit more shaky play, which, credit to Gila and Romagnoli, it hasn't necessarily affected them. But yeah, I agree, Caleb. It's tough. Like today really was on him.
Let me add real quick to that. Just my last point is, if we're not talking about the goalkeeper, that's always a good sign to me. Like for me, you're doing your job as a keeper if we're not talking about you. Like
Yeah.
for keepers, it's different than like an attacker, right? If you're like invisible as an attacker, then that's concerning. But if you're invisible as a center back and as a goalkeeper, that generally means you're doing your job, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing is that he somehow's always he's been in the limelight far too often for a keeper this season.
Yeah, even the save he made today. Honestly, he did a really poor job of parrying that. We were just lucky. I mean, it was a save. It was a tough or a powerful shot. But again, he's a keeper at the highest level. Adrian, did anybody aside from Provedel for you?
I mean, he played very well the last 2 times against Napoli, and that was Noslin. He was a little bit quiet today. I was a little bit shocked that he wasn't able to really exploit the spaces necessarily, because usually he's pretty good at finishing one-on-one with the keeper. But he was pretty much non-existent for the most part of this game. Maybe he wasn't ready to go in. I'm not sure, or maybe Napoli understood who this kind of player is. They kind of adjusted to him. But no, Noslin was kind of kept a little too quiet. But yeah, it obviously comes in a weird moment too with Tati getting injured, and that kind of changed the flow of the game because we didn't really build up the same way once Tati was taken off with the injury. Noslin obviously is a different type of player than Tati is, but yeah, I have to say Noslin would be the other shout for the worst player in the field.
Yeah, he was most certainly invisible, and I agree. I was trying to figure out if he could grow into the match, and it's tough. Like you go into a match and you come in unexpectedly. He has he's not warming up. He's thrown out there, but it just seemed like he was worse and worse throughout the match, and we were fortunate that he didn't get a touch on the ball that ultimately ended up coming to Zaccagni, because he just didn't seem like he was in a space to make the right play mentally and positionally in that moment. So I'd agree. I mean, it seemed like we were playing a man down with him. I wanted to see him get shifted out wide and put Zaccagni in behind Dia, who I would have liked to see in that more advanced role, but obviously it ended up working out amidst all that chaos. So, well, we are taking a live look at the table. We maintain our top four status. We see ourselves currently in fourth at 46 points, having played 25 matches. Juve still yet to play theirs. They play Hellas Verona here kicking off in the next 5 minutes. So big match.
Juve, hold on. Don't Juve play?
Sorry. I'm thinking Milan.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Juve play tomorrow against Inter. So a massive one there. Huge for us. And then Milan, another important one, kick off in the next 5 minutes against Hellas Verona. So we, in terms of where Juve is 3 points behind, they're going to need a big win against Inter to capitalize on our drop points. So obviously we'll all be rooting for Inter tomorrow in that derby. And when I take a look at the fixture list, it's we get a little bit of reprieve next Saturday against Venezia. And then here we go. We've got Coppa Italia against Inter and Milan right after that. So it doesn't get a lot easier, but we're in there this deep into the season, which I think we all would have been surprised if you would have told us this at the start. So, massive couple weeks coming up. We'll be here to cover it all. Today, an absolute thriller, chaos, roller coaster of a ride. As always, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We're here live after every match. And then we upload our audio podcasts for those that can't join on every audio format, your Spotify's, your Apple's, wherever you get your podcasts. Please like, subscribe, give us those 5-star ratings. The more you comment, the more you rate, the more people see our podcast to help us grow. Win, lose, draw, chaos, bicycle kicks, VARs, own goals, you name it. Sempre Forza Lazio.